77 in New York City. Inside a Fifth Avenue mansion draped in velvet, a dying tycoon signs his final will. Outside, the sound of trains and ferries, his empire, rumbles through the night. Cornelius Commodore Vanderbilt, once a barefoot ferry boy from Staten Island, has built one of the largest fortunes in American history. Within decades, his descendants will build palaces by the sea, fill society's top ranks, and lose almost all of it. How did one man's empire shape America's rise, and why did his dynasty fade just as the nation he helped build reached its Gilded-Age peak? In this story, we follow the Vanderbilts, from grit to grandeur, from boom to legacy. Cornelius Vanderbilt was born in 1794 on Staten Island to a modest ferry operator and his determined wife Phoebe. By age 11, he had left school to work full-time on the water. At 16, he borrowed $100 from his mother to buy a small boat and began ferrying passengers between Staten Island and Manhattan. A humble start that would launch one of America's greatest fortunes. As New York's population exploded after the War of 1812, Vanderbilt saw opportunity in transport. He mastered the new technology of steam power, partnering with, and later outmaneuvering, early steamboat monopolies. Nicknamed the Commodore, he built a fleet that dominated regional travel, earning both admiration and resentment for his ruthless efficiency and daring tactics. By the 1860s, he had turned his sights inland. Vanderbilt bought controlling stakes in the New York and Harlem and Hudson River railroads, fusing them into a network that connected the eastern seaboard to the industrial Midwest. In an era when rail was king, he became its emperor. At his death in 1877, his estate was valued at $105 million, more than the U.S. Treasury held in cash. To his admirers, he was the man who bound America together. To his critics, a robber baron who crushed rivals and hoarded power. Both were right. When he passed, nearly all of that fortune went to one son, William Henry Vanderbilt. It was a controversial choice that preserved the empire but split the family. William proved shrewd, doubling the inheritance within a decade and transforming the Vanderbilts into the richest clan in the nation. But as railroads boomed, so did extravagance. The Gilded Age was a theater of wealth, and the Vanderbilts took the starring role. Fifth Avenue became their stage. William's sons, Cornelius II and William Kissam, built vast mansions that made old-money New Yorkers gasp. Cornelius II's marble palace at 57th Street held 137 rooms and gleamed with gold-leaf ceilings. His sister-in-law, Alva Vanderbilt, threw a legendary costume ball in 1883 that cost millions in today's dollars, and finally secured the family's place among the city's social elite. Their summer estates in Newport, Rhode Island, Marble House and the Breakers were called cottages, though each was grander than a European palace. The Breakers alone boasted 70 rooms overlooking the Atlantic, with electricity, elevators, and imported art. These houses became monuments to ambition and symbols of the widening gap between rich and poor in industrial America. Yet the family also gave back. Cornelius Sr. had endowed Vanderbilt University in Nashville with one of the largest charitable gifts of his time. Later generations supported museums, churches, and hospitals. But philanthropy could not mask the contradictions of their age, an age of dazzling innovation and deep inequality. As time passed, the cracks widened. When William Henry Vanderbilt died in 1885, his fortune was divided among 8 children. Each new generation split the inheritance further, diluting the power that had once been absolute. Maintaining enormous estates required armies of servants and staggering upkeep. Meanwhile, the industries that built the fortune were changing. Railroads faced new competition from automobiles, oil, and emerging technologies. Taxes rose. Public opinion shifted. By the 1910s, conspicuous wealth was out of fashion. Some Vanderbilts tried to adapt. Cornelius III, disinherited for marrying without his father's consent, pursued engineering and philanthropy instead of finance. Others simply enjoyed their inheritance until it ran dry. The costs of luxury, combined with inflation, taxation, and changing tastes, proved relentless. Within 3 generations, the dynasty that had once symbolized American success was no longer counted among the nation's richest. Still, the Vanderbilt legacy didn't vanish. It evolved. Their name endures on institutions, landmarks, and in the American imagination. Vanderbilt University grew into a world-class center of learning. The Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, built by George Washington Vanderbilt II, remains the largest privately owned home in the United States. 175,000 square feet of art, architecture, and audacity. In Newport, the Breakers and Marble House stand preserved as museums, attracting millions who marvel at their grandeur. Culturally, the Vanderbilts became a parable for the American dream and its limits. Their story is retold in books, documentaries, and even by their own descendants. Journalist Anderson Cooper, himself a Vanderbilt, has described his family's saga as both a triumph and a warning, proof that money can buy almost everything except lasting purpose. What the Vanderbilts achieved was extraordinary. They helped build the infrastructure of a growing nation, symbolized its golden age, and left behind art, education, and architecture that still inspire awe. But their decline carries a lesson that feels timeless. Fortunes rise on vision and discipline, and they fall when ambition turns into indulgence. The rise and fall of the Vanderbilt dynasty mirror America's own transformation, from a young republic powered by steam and steel to a modern economy driven by innovation and reinvention. Cornelius. Vanderbilt embodied the raw energy of early capitalism, visionary, fearless, often brutal. His descendants embodied its contradictions: luxury, generosity, and eventual fragility. Their empire built the physical and social infrastructure of the Gilded-Age, but it could not survive the cultural and economic revolutions that followed. Yet the name still echoes on university gates, in preserved mansions, and in the national memory of what wealth once meant. The Vanderbilts remind us that success isn't only about making money, it's about adapting to change. Their story endures as both blueprint and warning for every dynasty that dreams of lasting forever. The Vanderbilts rose higher and fell faster than almost any family in American history. So what do you think sealed their fate? Changing technology, family rivalry, or simple overindulgence? Share your thoughts below, and let's talk about legacy versus longevity.